Welcome back to the Weekly Driver Podcast. My name is James Rea. I am an editor and the publisher of theweeklydriver.com, and I'm an automotive columnist for Bay Area News Group. My colleague and friend is Bruce Aldrich, and today we have on David Ankin. David is a stuntman in one part of his life and has been for a long time, or was for a long time, but now he's in the world of this increase in automotive reality shows, if you will, and he does a show called Toymakerz. And David, welcome to our podcast. We just can't wait to dig into this wacky world of people and making special cars. So how are you today, sir?
Doing fantastic. Thank you guys for having me.
Sure.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit of the background of where the idea came from for the show and how long you've been doing it? Just give us a good, if you would, a good overview of the program.
Yeah, just finished up filming season 3. Working really hard on the builds for season 4 already. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's the big scheme of things is I never wanted a TV show ever. Was never in my plans. Had friends have TV shows. I wasn't interested at all, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And then I had a guy tell me one time what a great avenue to advertise your business, basically, and started thinking about it over a couple of years. They're right. If I'm gonna retire into what I love, which is designing, building, and tinkering with toys, any type of toy, I don't care what it is.
Yes.
What a great way to advertise your company is to develop a show. So. It's really how it all started. I had no intentions of doing a television show, and just sort of, they kept. I was around it my whole life. So as it unfolded, next thing you know, talking to different producers about developing a television show. So,
how much time does the TV side take up of your day?
There's 24 hours in a day. It takes up about 30 hours
Great.
per day. It literally it engulfs your world in every sense. I didn't know what I didn't know. I went into it knowing it all and come out of it knowing nothing. You truly, it really does. To do it right, it's a little bit different. I live, eat, and breathe the show, whether it's you're talking to your brands that you're constantly trying to take care of. You're taking care of fans. You're taking care of shop. You're taking care of family life. You're taking care of employees. You're taking care of, and not just my employees, but I'm talking about, we have, 35, 40 people that work for us in film crew and editing crew. And then you have you got people that run social media. You got people that, you got publicists and managers, and you're constantly trying to grow. Like, I'm already working on season 4, and we haven't even aired season 3 yet. So I love what I do. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
But probably the most rewarding, yeah.
So you get a lot of more offers for builds, I suppose, right? As you say, it's like it's advertising.
But there's a fine line there. I got a lot of friends that do television that do builds for other people, and I'm not saying I don't. I do. I don't prefer to do that. If I can hand select who I want to build for, I would rather build them for myself. Most people don't understand what they're getting into when you're doing a one-off. Now, it's one thing if you're going to build a Mustang with a Procharger. Does that make sense? But if you're going to do a one-off build where you're going to hand build the chassis, the suspension, the body, the drive line, the brake system, there's something to be said about the owner of the car when you sell them that car. It's not your OEM Camaro that you're going to go out and buy. It just isn't. Not for me anyway. So I tend to want to build the car and then display the car. I bring it out. I got a bunch of cars that travel with me when we go to events and sign autographs, and that way it's me driving that car. It's what I prefer to do.
From the video that I've seen, when you drive a car, you drive the wheels off it, smoky burnouts and that kind of stuff. A little fun, huh?
Yeah, it's me, there's a lot of guys, and I know some incredible builders, but they don't want to scratch them. A lot of them don't even have plumbing and wiring in them. They're like, oh, no, this is a piece of art. To me, that's exactly what it is, a piece of art. If you can't drive it, what good is it? So I want to drive everything I have, and I drive it. To me, they're drivers. I build them to drive. I don't build them to I don't know. I don't enter car shows. I don't care about any of that stuff. So
we like even more now. That's great. That's great. Yeah.
I want to drive my stuff, and I want to drive it hard. I mean, we build it to drive. So if I got 1,000 horsepower, I want to feel 1,000 horsepower.
Sure.
So.
Hey, Dave. Through the years, there's been a number of these kinds of shows where people have all kinds of different formats, but why do you think there's been an influx in the popularity of these kinds of automotive shows, whether it's the approach you take or there are other approaches where there's more of a comedic aspect to it? Why do you think that these have taken off on a variety of different networks?
Well, I think honestly, the market's changing and everybody thinks they have it figured out. I'll be the first to tell you I don't have a frickin' clue what we're doing, but I will tell you this, that if you're passionate about it and you love what you do, I happen to be involved with an industry of gearheads, and
yes.
All gearheads are just, down in their heart, they're good people. I can show up at an event, not know anybody, and not because I'm David Ankin. It's because I love what I do, and I've been going to events my whole life. And you roll in, and you have a common goal, a common love. I look at people's cars and what they do, and fellow Toymakers, if you will.
Sure.
And that's what I love. It's the industry, it's the people in the industry. I can call a brand. I was talking to Willwood yesterday. Absolutely amazing people. And you go right to their tech department, and them guys have the same passion I do.
Sure.
And it's the industry that I love, almost more so than the building. You get out there and you can. Some people like to go golfing. I just don't. I mean, if I'm going to go golfing, it's because I got a badass golf cart I just built.
I want to go on that one. That's great.
It isn't because I want to go swing. And I'm not knocking a golfer, but if I got to hit a ball and go chase it, it doesn't make sense to me. I want to drive the golf cart, go get it. I mean, So,
dare I say, it's an industry where there are very few introverts. It's an extroverts industry.
It really is. It doesn't. There's no wrong or right. I mean, really, honestly, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're passionate about it, some people don't like what I do. That's okay. I did it for me. I don't like what I see all the time, but I don't ever judge him. It's what he likes. So it's some people like blue, or some people like white, some people like black. Who cares?
Right.
I remember a day when, I had no money and just trying everything I could do to try to build my poster on the wall. So it's to go out there and watch these guys. Now they grab me and bring me over to show me their car. It's exciting for them. It's like they're going, I want to show you. And I'm looking at it when I remember the day when you look at this guy, because I got $1,500 in it. What do you think? And I'm thinking to myself, dude, for $1,500, you did really good. It's like,
that's great.
The day, you don't have to spend $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 to live your dream. Some of these guys are living their dream for no money. Sure. That's how I started. We didn't have any money. We had to learn to build our stuff.
Well, nowadays they got rat rods, so a guy like me who doesn't have any money can build something pretty unique.
It's
on
funny.
A budget.
I love rat rods.
I do.
Love rat rods. I have a couple, and for me, I grew up with a day where the rat rod was a brand new, flawless car that you just didn't paint. You kept it rusty and the outside body, but everything was perfect. That's changed over the years. Now I think they call that a retro rod, but to me, everybody's got their passion. I love a rat rod, but to me, my idea of a rat rod is it's still got to be dead perfect. It's got to run right. It's got to act right. It's got to stop. It isn't just a bunch of junk parts, but there's a whole movement now and it could be leaking oil and tie down straps holding the motor in the car, and that's his rat rod. But again, to him, that's his dream. I mean, it's the best car on the planet to him. And that's all that matters.
Right. The rat rod, I wouldn't hardly call it a rat rod that you have, that SB2, the black, was it an old Ford
that's
chassis?
my version of a rat rod. Yeah, that's my, but it's, and I didn't spend any money on paint. It's flat black, and
you got a motor in that thing.
It's got it's got an SB2 in it, a full chassis, a 9-inch. We hand build every inch of the car. It's beautiful.
It is.
But for me, that's my version of a rat rod.
Sure.
Dave, I don't see us as the People magazine per se of automotive podcasts, but I'm going to ask anyway. What is it like? What's the dynamic like when you bring a celebrity into the mix? Do they have any idea what it's all about? Are they car enthusiasts to begin with, or they're just a famous person and they have money to burn and they get you involved? How does that work with a celebrity involvement?
For me, I'm just getting ready to air season 3, so I'm not as big as some of these other guys. I've been very fortunate, and I'm humbled to be where I'm at, but almost everybody I'm involved with, like I just had Dean Cain involved this year, and I've known Dean for a few years now, and almost everybody I'm involved with, I've been involved with. They know who I am, what I do. Funny story about Dean is the very first show that was pitched to me to do was it was going to be Dean and I as the host of the show, him as the aspiring gearhead and me as the gearhead.
Yes.
And so I had him on the show this year. And what's funny to me, he was laughing because now he's been around the block. He's done a whole bunch of stuff in his life. Now he's on my show. I think that's funny.
Yes, that is pretty funny. Yes.
Now your shop is in. I'm sorry. Your shop is in Reidsville, North Carolina, which is near Charlotte, which is ground zero for NASCAR country. There must be a lot of good talent around there.
Absolutely. There's right down the street, in Charlotte, in Concord, all the places. We're right dead in the middle of NASCAR country. There's some great talent out here. I mean, the builders out here are amazing. The engine guys are amazing. The shops are amazing. It's we're surrounded by amazing people.
I have to drop in a little bit of North Carolina today, and I just chuckled because later today I also report on golf, and either later today or tomorrow I'm going to interview Davis Love III, who's a North Carolina guy. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but he I think he was Michael Jordan's roommate 1 year in college way back in the day, and in Northern California, Davis is going to play in the AT&T tournament next month for the 30th time. So I've never interviewed him before, but he's a good North Carolina guy. I know that.
I tell you what, there's a lot of talent that comes out of North Carolina. You know what? Honestly, there's a lot of talent that comes out of this country. I think we're all blessed. You work hard, you persevere, you can go anywhere you want to go. So.
I think you're right. How about celebrities in the show or that you work with for cars? Have there been any, or will there be any?
Yeah, I mean, this year, of course, we've got Richard Petty on this year, doing some stuff with him. Dean Cain, of course, this year on the show. A couple smaller ones, like Sarah Edwards she drives a Queen of Diamonds jet car, one of the world's fastest women. I'm doing a car for her this year.
Great.
And then we've got we're doing some Monster Jam stuff. Some of the big shots for Monster Jam are coming on. I'm helping them finish up a truck they debuted on Monster Jam this year. So I'm not really prejudiced when it comes to toys. I mean, everything from a turbo Harley Davidson with knobby tires, which is totally taboo, to a monster truck, to a one-off, hand-built. I totally ruined the 1941 Willys coupe. I mean, in everybody's eyes, it's absolutely the nastiest thing on the planet. I've already got a couple of celebrities I know begging me to come take them. But I built the car specifically to give rides to my fans. So
I saw that
it's going to be fun.
I saw that you built a V8 motorcycle, too.
Yeah, I did that. That was year one with Vanquish with Mike Kelly. Great guy. Matter of fact, I was just on the phone with him because I'm doing something similar for one of my employees now. We're building a 3-wheel trike for him, completely off the deep end. But yeah, it's for me. I got 12 bikes. I love the bike industry. I love everything about the industry, for that matter.
Yes.
So to do a V8 bike, I really wanted one right. There's a couple brands out there that, in my opinion, are a little top heavy. They don't stop real well, or they don't handle right. So we wanted to build one that center of gravity was low. It's 100 pounds heavier than my Harley Davidson, but it stops right, it shifts right, it turns right. And an amazing matter of fact, since that episode, I added 300 horse of nitrous. So just because I needed more, if that
Sure.
makes any sense.
Have you ever built anything that had too much horsepower?
I think I don't even understand the question.
That's what I was thinking you'd say. That's what I expected.
Great. That's the best answer I've ever heard.
I'm in the middle of we're just finishing up for next season. Got the motor all designed. We're in the middle of putting it together. It's about 3,000 horsepower, streetable horsepower in a car. It's all hand built. Body's hand built. Chassis. Every inch of the car is hand built. And the motor's a little twin turbo motor from Precision, 540 Holley, all Holley fuel injection. But it'll run 3,000, give or take, and we're going to put it on the street, and it's going to be a driver. I will drive it to the racetrack. I will cut a 450 in the 8th mile, and I will drive it home.
That's great. Bruce and I were talking before the program, and I'm stealing one of Bruce's questions, but I'm curious to know about it. You have a program, and you're doing the build, but behind the scenes, I'm sure that there's production and editing. And could you share maybe an outtake or something that's happened behind the scenes that the public doesn't see that would be good for our listeners? You thought you had the right equipment. Oh geez, we forgot to do this, or we forgot to do that. So give us an example, if there are any, of some outtakes, if you will.
Everything. I'm not one. I don't have a lot of time to watch TV. I know these shows are always born around drama. They want drama.
Yes.
I refuse to have drama in my shop. I just refuse. If I'm going to fight with somebody in my shop, it don't work for me anymore.
Gotcha.
So for me, it's I can't. I just can't. So my producer, I'll never forget, year one, was very adamant. And I want you to go out. The sensor's going to go bad. The car's not going to start. And I said, listen to me. I said, I'm not going to have no fake sensor go bad, and we're not going to play like the car doesn't start. There's going to be drama. So every single time we ever get in a car, and then once they realize that I design it, I build it, and then I drive the snot, I promise you something happens, whether I hit a wall or, for instance, we were just finishing monster trucks, and whole car done, the whole truck is done. I have another monster truck that I'm racing up and down the damn road, going up to a truck stop, for instance, and getting it, just causing havoc. So we decide to have a drag race. Between the two, the one we just finished, it's going to get debuted at Monster Jam a couple days later. And in the middle of the drag race, the guy, not me, I didn't make the mistake. The driver of the other truck lost control of it. We wrecked both trucks. So we just stopped everything we're doing to fix it. So everything happens, and it's a real world in our world. It's hard to explain, but nothing happens. It isn't. Ours is real TV. It really does happen. If I sit there and, I almost, they closed the city streets to do my finale drive this year, and literally, you don't really know what could happen. And the next thing you know, you're real close to everything that should be going wrong. Thank God we have a great team and a safety group, but I guess in answer to your question, every day there's something, and you never really, my camera guys are very trusting. They don't move. I've had them for 3 years. You buzz them at 200 miles an hour, and they do not move. Their hats come off because you buzz them so close. It's like, but nothing that is so bad that it's not. It's all very controlled chaos. Is that a better way to put it?
Sure. The drama takes care of itself, in other words.
It really does, because there's something going to break. the chain's going to come off. You're going to, I had the rear end, the brake assembly completely rip off a car because we were really doing some silly stuff to try to get a shot. And the brake system held so well that it wrapped right around the rear axle, and the brakes never stopped turning on the disc. So tore all the lines off the car. But it's sort of the nature of the beast if you're trying to make something do something it's not supposed to do. If you're going to jump a 12,000-pound monster truck 100 feet, it's going to do something it's not supposed to do. Eventually, stuff breaks or fails. I mean, so I don't think I have any one thing outside of the fact of everything goes wrong all the time. It's just how you control it. So.
But in general, you're living the dream. Can you tell us how you first got the passion for cars, and then are you passing this passion on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a generation thing. My first year, I did a 3-generation show with my son, myself, and my father. My dad built hot rods. My son is, matter of fact, he's wearing me out now about, going to, what's his first car going to be? He's 13. He's already asking me, what are we going to build? What are we going to build? So it came very honestly as a young age. My dad built cars and trucks and bikes and toys, and my son is exactly the same way. He can't seem to get anything without ripping it apart, trying to modify it somehow. So
the Weekly Driver podcast gets support from AmericanMuscle.com, your late model Mustang and F-150 authority, bringing you the hottest products and top-notch customer service for over a decade. No one makes it easier to modify your ride. Visit AmericanMuscle.com today. The other question I wanted to know about is, considering your expertise in the stunt world, we interviewed a guy a while back, a mountain climber, the guy who you may have heard about who did El Cap without ropes, Alex Hunold, and he has a van, so that was the tie-in to the automotive world. He lives 6 months a year in his van, but basically he doesn't have any fear. I'm wondering what your level of fear is in a car, if you have any fear, or do you just have this like Alex does?
Did he really tell you he had no fear?
He said he has more fear when he's not on the mountain, so maybe I have to kind of amend that. So he's at peace on the mountain. He has more fear when he's in his van or whether he's out in the public somewhere. But people
ask me if I'm just crazy or if I don't fear. I think it's a respect. I trust what we do. I trust the safety gear I'm wearing. I trust my abilities. I trust that I really thought it out. And, the car I finished up for this year is so amazing, and it's so over the top, and everybody said you couldn't do it. It wouldn't work right. And let me tell you something, it's the most incredible ride I've ever had. But it is truly a handful. But when I call it living on the edge of my life, I literally like living on the edge. And what I find is by pushing myself, and that's exciting to me. It's not any fun if anybody can do it. It's you want to push yourself, and you can't win a race without falling down. You can't succeed in life without failing.
I love it.
You have to realize it. To really go somewhere, I call it leap of faith. You gotta get on the top of the mountain. You gotta jump. You got to, otherwise you're just sitting there like everybody else. So for me, it isn't that I respect everything that I'm doing. If I ever get in a car or a bike and I don't respect it, I probably won't drive it. If I don't fear it, if I truly get on it and there's no fear at all, I probably wouldn't drive it.
No fun, huh?
It'll hurt you. Well, it'll hurt you. If you don't respect, if I think about every time I've ever truly been hurt, and I've been hurt bad, it's usually because I don't respect what I'm driving. If you get on it and you're on a little, 110cc mini bike and you're racing around being stupid, and you're in a pile driving, you have no safety gear, you're only doing 35 miles an hour, but when you're doing 200 miles an hour, you're so in tune with what you're doing. It's a different world. I can get in a car and, man, we're sliding around last week and I'm literally, 150 miles an hour dead sideways and just it was so comforting and relaxing, and I was in tune with the car. I knew the car. I knew the brakes. I knew my gas pedal. I just knew what we were doing and how we were doing it. And I had so many close calls, and people thought I was nuts. It's like, it wasn't even a worry to me. It isn't that I don't fear it. I trust my surroundings, and that's living life. I don't want to live life sitting on the couch. Just don't.
That's great. It triggered a thought from many years ago, and not to put you in the same category, but I worked on the Monterey Peninsula for a year, and they had the Indy Series down there at Laguna Seca. This is in the mid 1980s, and they brought in Danny Sullivan and Bobby Little Al and somebody else to a press conference, and I knew nothing. I maybe know a little bit more, but I asked those guys if they considered themselves athletes, and they were very kind to me. They didn't make fun of the question or anything. They told me about try to get in the car and drive for 4 hours without stopping, and the intensity of always having to concentrate. And so I found some new respect for those guys, and I realized, of course, that they are athletes. Do you consider what you do on your program? Do you consider yourself an athlete?
They bring up a valid point. I literally, 6 months a year, I train very, very, very hard. When you're in a car and that's exactly it. You have to be calm. It's knowing everything about, you have to realize if you're an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours, whatever it happens to be in a vehicle, and you're right on the edge all the time. You got to be so comfortable to breathe. You got to relax. It's hard to do. People start getting forearm cramps, and they're panicking. I absolutely consider anybody in anything you do more than 30 seconds. It's like your mind takes over, and you're absolutely an athlete. Am I a guy that has to exert himself, or I have to lift weights? No, absolutely not, even though I do all the time. But I promise you start manhandling a car around, and your mind is going back and forth, and you're doing 5 things at once. It's absolutely work. I mean, you go home and you're tight and you're sore and your butt cheeks hurt and your legs hurt and your right arm hurts because you absolutely. And I think that's what puts some of the guys over the top in the racing series. You sit in a race car, go around in a circle. Anybody could do that. I promise you can. Right. Mentally, you can.
There's no timeouts.
You get out of the car. There really isn't. And mentally, you're on, and you're on, and you're on, and you can't breathe. If you breathe wrong, you're done. So I call it, my mind is a dollar bill. I forget where I heard this from, but you only have a dollar bill to spend in your mind when you're driving. And if you spend 25 cents to shift the gears and 25 cents to use the brakes and 25 cents, everything you do is money. And if you get to a point where it's costing you 95 cents to drive that race, and then something jumps out in front of you and it costs you 30 cents, you're over your limit.
Yes,
and you crash.
Sure.
So what you try to do is you try to reduce what it takes to shift a car, what it takes to stop the car, drive the car. So you're driving that race at 25 cents in your mind. So when something jumps out in front of you, you're still under your dollar bill. It's silly, but
that's a good analogy. I hadn't thought of it that way. That's great.
David, can you tell us any clue about what Richard Petty's going to do with you on the show?
Richard Petty's down the street. Number one, he's a brand that's been around forever.
Yep.
He's an amazing guy, amazing man, and his brand, believe it or not, is probably as big now or bigger than it ever was. And let me explain that. They got a Petty's Garage now, and they do all these OEM cars. You go buy a brand new OEM car, and they do a Petty package on it, and it gets financed right into it. Big horsepower, great group of guys. So I got a fan that has been a Petty fan his whole life. His dad grew up a Lee Petty fan, and they're going to be he wanted a car built that was a clone car to Richard Petty, an actual 71 Dodge, actually going to be, his golf cart when he goes to the NASCAR races. So basically approached Richard Petty, and the guy's never met him. He sleeps with a Richard Petty pillow.
Oh my gosh!
He's never met Richard Petty. Yeah, that's how deep the fan. So he came to me to build the car. I didn't want to do it at first, but I talked to Richard, and Richard goes, "I don't do clone cars. Nobody gets it right." And Richard's he might be in his 80s, but let me tell you something. Richard Petty is very in tune with what he likes and dislikes, what he wants and doesn't want. So Richard Petty said, look, if you're going to build the car and you're going to do it right, I'll sign it, and you can bring it here, put it in my showroom, and I'll hand the guy the keys. So I agreed to do it. And the guy, for me, giving back to somebody like that grew up going to every NASCAR race on the planet, just hoping to meet the guy more than just, run through and say hi as a fan.
Yes.
To be able to give that to the guy was more exciting than giving him the car. And then did not even realize the car was sitting there amongst all of Richard Petty's cars, which was really huge. And then, the fans that were at Richard Petty's museum were taking pictures of the car, assuming it was one of Richard Petty's cars. And then Richard Petty to sign it, and Richard Petty will tell you when you're wrong.
Yes.
That was a fear of mine, walking in. Richard Petty goes, dude, I don't like the car. I don't like it. And his complaint was there was 100 clones within 50 miles of his shop, and he didn't really care for many of them. He goes, look, they're all just whatever. It's
right.
like got my numbers on it.
Right.
There's no respect to my name, is what he said.
Yes.
But he looked at the car. He was very excited. I mean, Richard was. He goes, hey, do you mind if I sign the dash? I said, please, sign the dash. So it was a big deal for me, too, because, God, what if he wouldn't have liked the car? Right. I got a film crew there, a fan there.
Hey, Dave.
That could have blown her.
Since you're in your third season now, it's kind of a double question, but what kind of response have you gotten, whether it's email or phone calls or text from the public? And can you tell us a little bit about the programming of the show on the A&E network? Kind of fill us in, if you could, in those two areas. How has the public reacted to the show? And I know it's on A&E, but where does the general public see the show?
Yeah, it'll be on History Channel Sunday mornings, and FYI primetime Saturday nights.
Gotcha.
So 157 million homes. Really blessed. I mean, honestly, it's humbling. I mean, come on, guys. I just a car guy that likes to build silly toys, but in the big scheme of things, there's a million guys that do exactly what I do. We're humble. I'm surrounded by a team of misfits that just happens to be amazing at what they do.
And I want to be on that team of misfits. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
We're a very, very small crew. We can't do it all. There's only, if you think about it, there's me, Bo, Jason, and Billy, and then there's Ashley, my assistant. That's it as far as in the shop. I mean, I got 50 people outside the shop. I got a business partner. I got a lady that handles all paperwork. I got, but in the shop, there's, 4 of us and Ashley. And we do it all. So, but in saying that, it's the most humbling thing I've ever done. You stop at, to eat breakfast or dinner now, and we're starting to get recognized more and more and more. And the people that call you are so gracious. They're so nice. And every now and then somebody will call and tell me that they hated the way I use that motor and not a 6-cylinder. I'm wasting gas, or sometimes.
Oh boy, yeah.
There's always going. But realistically, it's a very, very small percentage, and then to realize I get a chance to grow the industry that I love. I mean, it's truly a passion of mine, and I think, unfortunately, racing and sports have changed over the last 40 years. I mean, it's not what it used to be. The kids today coming up are from a different world. We didn't have cell phones and cable.
Oh yeah, different world.
We didn't have any of that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a different world. So to be able to influence kids is amazing to me. It's just amazing, and Yeah.
Do you foresee anything, speaking about a different world, do you foresee anything in the electric motor?
In the electric motor?
Yeah, would you build anything with electric? Do you see that on the horizon or anything? Or you thought about it?
Oh my God, yeah. I let a little cat out of the bag, and I don't think my producers know this yet because I'm always so far ahead, but I'm already knee-deep in building an all-wheel drive electric motor, but I tell you, it's going to have a Toymakerz spin. I really want an old-school look. I mean old school, almost like a 32 old boy look, you know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
But all-wheel drive, electric, and make it where it's, if you talk about it, it's almost dead wrong. But I'm telling you, if you do it right, it'll be right. It's about a stance, it's about a look, it's about a feel. The only negative I see with it, and I'm the guy that has the negative with it, is when you talk about electric and you talk to an old man like myself, you know, is I like the sound of a big cam.
Same here. Yep.
V8.
Yeah.
I just do. Yeah, V8, just nasty, thumping. You don't get that with electric.
No.
But let me tell you where I have to change my attitude, and I am. It's hard to beat sheer performance. It's hard to beat it. In electric, is sheer performance. I mean, it downright, they're bad. I mean, holy cow, you could make one fast. So if you can get the look right, the stance right, the attitude right of the car, and it performs, truly performs, I'm hoping the me's of the world, I'm putting myself right in there with it, accepts the car. Because I'm going to build one. Matter of fact, I've already got the platform, but I'm going to build the car.
That's great.
But I gotta convince myself while I'm doing it that what I'm giving up in one avenue, which is that sound that I love so much, and that I'm going to make it up. All of a sudden you're right. There's nothing better than burning ratio. I promise you.
Yeah.
But you're right. The smells, the sounds, and a lot of people try to mimic that. But to me, that's decoration on a cake. I don't want a sound system that sounds bad. So I'm just not going to develop any of that. I'm going to build a car that is above and beyond on all the other senses, and then you got to take the sound and the smells away, and then make the car so badass that people like myself will go, dude, that's a badass car.
Great.
You've got to have no traction control either, so you can still smoke those tires.
I'm not a fan of traction control. I get it.
I didn't think so.
No, I get it, and I appreciate it, but I do want to spin the tires when I want to spin the tires. Yep.
Hey, Dave, that's we only know you for half an hour, but the passion of what you do, it just comes right through, and it's been a real treat to get to know you a little bit. I can't wait to dig into the series number 3, year number 3, and we're coming to North Carolina soon, and we'll buy you that beer or two when we get down there, and lunch.
Dude, if they're coming down, I'm buying beer. Please come by the shop.
Okay.
Please. Please come by the shop.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be great. We want to thank Dave from Toymakerz. It just sounds like the show's just fantastic, and what you have in the future is, like I said, I can't wait. So thanks for being our guest today on the Weekly Driver podcast. Please visit our website, www.theweeklydriver.com, and visit the Toymakerz website as well. And everybody watch the show. It just sounds like it's going to be a great third season. And God, you've already got the 4th season. So thanks again, Dave, for being our guest today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much. Have a good day.
You do the same. Take care. Bye-bye. The Weekly Driver podcast receives support from AmericanTrucks.com, your late model Silverado, Sierra, Ram, and F-150 online aftermarket retailer, bringing you all of the hottest parts from accessories to lift kits, from wheels to tires and winches. AmericanTrucks.com has the knowledge and know-how to make your wildest dreams come to reality.